Because Joe was saying he has some
My wife and I have both had contacts with so we bought a bunch of we created bodies for our local school system, but they didn't want the lens. So I had a decent time with this talk. Again, welcome to the new season of PHSNE. I'm John Witowitz, your president for a while anyway. And our speaker this afternoon is going to be our first PHSNE Award winner, Karen Torres, and of course she'll be up in a little bit. What we have coming in the programs for the fall is our October meeting. Will be our friend Jim Chassie talking about the history of Hasselblad and things you never knew. He'll be bringing along and showing, and that's going to be a very interesting meeting for equipment. November. It's the way the calendar falls this year once again. The November meeting is being replaced by Photographica, but same day, same place. You all know, and John will be up again in a minute for that. To talk.
Coming, this is our annual show. We have about 75 tables out there in the hall, the big hall. We turn that into a photographic happening / bazaar. Keyword is bizarre. Right now, we've got over half the show sold out already. We've got almost 50 tables sold. I expect a total sellout. We will march about 600 people through this building that weekend. It's a little later than it's been in the past because we had a couple of shows out in Rochester. A lot of our dealers had to be there, and they had some commitments in the hall. So it's a little later than, usually we try to do it like October, mid-October. So it's a couple of weeks later than normal, but don't let that scare you. It just gives us more time to get more people here.
What date?
November 5th and 6th. Thank you.
Student membership in and things like that. And one of the things that John, of course, is doing a lot of stuff related to the show to do that. And we want to produce a membership brochure that's student-oriented. So if anybody has contacts in the student community or some ideas for bullet points about PHSNE that would help us in bringing in more student members, I'd appreciate getting them.
Blue Journal, you should all have received it by now. It took a whole year to do this. Actually, it took me a whole year minus 2 weeks to do this. And right now we're looking for a new editor to take over. I can't continue to do it. And but anyway, a couple of things about the journal. I'd like to be able to put on the web the old journals going back 30 years. There are a lot of great articles in those journals, and where are the journals? They're lost in the warehouse someplace, and they're not accessible to our members. So we're going to start looking into publishing the journals on the website and maybe on a DVD that'll be available to members. So we're just starting to think about this, and we'll probably have something more to talk about in December at the December meeting. Thank you.
I know I have, but I didn't bring them with me. Okay, I'll begin on the back on the left. And John.
I found this image on Cape Cod last week, and what I believe it to be is an Annapolis, United States Navy graduating photograph. From the way they're wearing their hair, I'm going to say late 20s, early 30s. And I've given this to Dan Jones to take a look at to see if he could confirm maybe the building as an Annapolis building, or maybe spot some future admiral, World War II admiral, that would make this photograph be a lot more valuable. So hopefully Sprudence is somewhere in this photograph, I don't know. But one thing when you're looking at it later, there's a student, he's about here, and his head is turned. This is obviously a time photograph. And it's kind of interesting because the student next to him, or the graduate midshipman, I guess would be the proper term, is got a big giant smile on his face. So this is why they were setting this up. They obviously took some time and were telling each other jokes. And one guy must have burst out laughing, and as a result, when the shutter was snapped, he's a blur. and the other kid just has a smile on his face. So check that out. It's somewhere right around here. I'm going to put that.
A macro attachment for
Your name?
Ralph Johnston from Auburndale. Thank you, Ruth.
His name and town for everyone.
You're always so good about that.
I should be saying that.
The Fuji W3 is a stereo camera. That's the camera. This is the attachment. The camera is the tiny compared. It's so neat. It just drops in there, and if you take this lens cap off, you'll see a 4-mirror system. It's got mirrors and then other mirrors, and it starts out about 90 millimeters lens spacing and drops it to 25. So with that you can zoom in on a flower or what and get a close-up without excessive depth. Too much depth, you can't get closer than 6 feet with this camera, or you could go get a headache looking at it. But with this change, you can get right up on a flower.
Okay, the talk today is on pinhole photography, so I brought a pinhole camera. I've made a bunch of pinhole cameras. I have taught 3D photography, or pinhole photography at the adult ed level. This particular one is made out of black foam core. Okay, and does not want to come apart. It's just an empty box. Okay, there's a little pinhole in the front and a piece of brass. It's all black foam core and tape and silicone rubber and things like that. And I made this one to take 4x5 film holders. Okay. So my show and tell is actually about something which happened to me recently, and this is the start of it because it is related to this. Now you'll notice here there's no metering of any kind in here. There's no batteries, no electronics, no nothing. There's no through the pinhole metering. Okay, and like any film camera, the problem is, you know, figuring out what your exposures are, because you really want to get it right. It takes a fairly long time to take a picture. So I started off by using my trusty Luna Pro light meter, which is actually fine in almost all respects. Okay, the film speeds actually go down very low. The exposure times actually go up into the hours range. What's missing though is it only goes up to f90. Okay.
I arrived in Tribeca, and my AT&T ID got me through the first police line. I stayed at the Grand Tribeca, which was empty except for emergency workers. Robert De Niro owned a restaurant in this hotel and had hot food 24 hours a day for any workers. It was free, and there was no sign of who paid the bill. Folks only knew by word of mouth. The area smelled like a dump fire, burning rags, or cardboard. I remember lying in bed, looking at the ceiling, wondering what's holding mine up. The next day, Tuesday, I met with my assistant, and we decided to take a tour of the disaster. We had to pass a second police line, this one manned by state police and National Guard. We found work with a Verizon crew and helped lay about 2,000 feet of cable in a gutter. I never felt so satisfied as when my arms hurt from unspooling the huge roll, set horizontal on a sledgehammer pivot. I felt like I had finally helped. As we walked the entire blocks around the site, I noticed a cop with a German Shepherd. The dog had booties on. I had heard of Canadian folks donating such boots. I asked the cop if these were from that, and he told me no. He had made them with veterinary cloth.
And you just printed it out?
And I just printed it last.
I found on eBay for the past year, somebody's selling aerial film, the 9.5 roll films, for like $300, something like that. It's a 500 feet, so it's a plus X, you know, the Kodak plus X. They will come from China. It will cost $80 to ship it. If you have extra space in the freezer, you can use it. Make your own color, whatever. It's a little thinner than the typical sheet film, but still you can manage to develop. Very nice. The cost I use it to cut 4x10s or pretty much close to that size, and the cost is like 25-30 cents per sheet, so it's a lot cheaper. But you can make your cutter, you can, and it's cheaper, cheaper form that you want.
With that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our winner of our 2010 PHSNE Award, Karen Torres. Who,
I saw your grant application at school. I was at the New Hampshire Institute of Art as a student there, using my GI Bill from my active duty service to earn my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in photography. And I did graduate last May, so I'm officially a graduate. And I had always wanted to do pinhole photography. I'd been to several year photographicas, and I thought that I would use one of the cameras that I'd bought here, this little brownie, to convert to a pinhole, shoot some images, and to submit them to you. The category that I submitted under was modifying currently out of production camera. It had to be over 50 years old, which this is, late 1920s, early 1930s, the best I could figure. And then use currently available materials in the processing. So I shot film, obviously, developed the film in the darkroom, and then I scanned it digitally and then printed digitally. So that met your requirements. Here.
Excuse me, Colonel?
Yeah.
Best I could do on a short notice.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. Thank you. I'm back. I'm back. Sorry. I'm good. So this is a #2 Model F, and it is the olive green color. And I don't like typically what I call kind of bastardizing cameras. All the cameras I have are shooters. They work. They're not paperweights, and I have a lot of older ones. So it really broke my heart to punch the lens out. And this is actually a second brownie that I bought for this purpose. The first one, the pictures were too good for me to pop the lens out, so I had to go looking for another one. I just couldn't do it. Just to let you know, I went for a good purpose. I bought a new Sekonic light meter with a spot, and 2 of the Flex TT5's pocket wizards for my Nikon. So a little bit of film, a little bit of digital.
With the hex, how did you avoid either having a line between them or having a little section double exposed?
There are sections double exposed, and that's what you can see here, and that's why I kind of like, they all blend into each other. The, like right here, I don't know if you can see it, like here, the dial is the central, but then see the trees are double exposed on the book, and the snow globe is double exposed on this plate. Each one has the central image, but then the edges all bleed into each other, and I wanted to make sure that there was complete coverage on the film spool, so that's when I figured out the image angles basically in the beginning when I was building. So that the light would spread to right here, like this diameter is like 3 inches and something. So I put each lens in turn, and it captures the scene in 360.